Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Star Wars Alliance, your home on Geek Ultimate Alliance podcast network for any and all things Star Wars. I'm your host, as always, Katie, and with me, as per the usual, it is Clay. Clay, how are you doing today?
I am doing pretty good. Considering the fact that today for work was kind of crap. It was Wednesdays.
Sorry.
I love Wednesdays because it's normally like the laid back day where
Yeah.
I can, just do some work while I'm like either watching a recap of something that we are covering or listening to an audiobook or stuff like that. And today was just way too hectic to do anything like that. I was actually trying to put Skeleton Crew on while I was working today. Uh, Thankfully, I got a second watch through right before we started recording tonight, but it was kind of hectic today, and so I'm a little frustrated at that. But I'm home. I'm ready to
Work
talk.
is work.
Yeah, I'm ready to talk Skeleton Crew. But what about you?
Yes, so we are late today, guys. If you're watching live, I do apologize, but Mara had an allergic reaction. So Matt had to go get children's Benadryl because we did not actually get that. We have literally every other medication under the sun except Benadryl. So that was what was needed and everything. So a little stressed after that, riding the anxiety high, but we're
Oh, I
surviving.
I was terrified for you because well, I have never dealt with an allergic reaction.
Yeah.
Abby has dealt with an allergic reaction with the people that she's worked with before because she's a nanny and she's just dealt
Hmm.
with that. And so like every single time Amberlyn breaks out in some sort of small rash because of something new that she tries, I'm like, "Oh my god, she's going to die." Like my brain goes to the worst. And so I'm always freaking out. Abby's like, "It's cool. It's just a contact rash. It's nothing too serious. Just, let's take it away from her, let it settle down. If we need to give her Benadryl, blah blah blah." But I'm always freaking out because I mean, the worst of the worst, like if anybody
Mm.
has freaking seen oh crap, what is the movie? Um Macaulay Culkin oh, you haven't seen the movie. I can't even spoil it for you. Oh no. Uh it's a movie that is actually uh like I genuinely want you to watch. So I'm going to have to find the title. But anybody knows where I was going with that. It's a terrifying thing. It's a terrifying thing. Allergic reactions and stuff like that, absolutely terrifying. So when you told me that, I was like, ugh. Like I paused Skeleton Crew for a while, and I was just kind of sitting here like, all right, just gonna wait to see if there's any
That's why I
response,
sent you the
anything.
text. I was like, because I called my neighbor and she actually had Benadryl, so we got Benadryl in her pretty quickly. Um,
That's
but
good.
Matt was still out getting Benadryl and everything, so um, I was kind of just like keeping her entertained. But it also happened in the middle of dinner, so I was finishing dinner at the same time, and like I also
Yeah.
had Skeleton Crew on, trying to like get a second watch in and stuff. So I wasn't ever really anxious about the allergic reaction. I think it's because my nephew has a lot had a lot of allergic reactions, and so I was kind of like prepared. Like he couldn't get a flu shot because he's allergic to eggs.
Hmm.
So, um whole thing, but we're fine. Everything's fine. Um so yeah. I'm ready to talk about Skeleton Crew. I did not get a full second watch in. I am missing like the last 10 minutes of episode 2.
Well,
But I'm ready to talk about it.
before we jump into that, we wanted to wait until the next show because you said last week we were like, "Hey, we have 2 reviews going on. Do we really want to talk about this?" You're like, "No, I think it's a little ridiculous and silly, so we'll push it to
Oh
next week."
yes.
So I have the quote here.
Yes, our one
Guys,
piece of news.
yes, our one piece of news, because literally nothing else came out from last week to this week in regards to Star Wars information. Um, we have a quote from Dune director Denny. How do you pronounce his last name?
Villeneuve. That's how I would pronounce it. I don't think that's correct. Because I called him Dennis for the longest time. And I did that on Slice of Film with Mark, and Mark was like, "You heathen." Like, so I have no idea.
I've heard the last name several different times, but I'll just say because everybody knows Dune because it's been like the crazy thing for the past 2 years. He had this to say in regards to Star Wars and the possibility of directing it. And he says, I adore Star Wars. The problem is that it all derailed in 1983 with the Return of the Jedi. We were so angry still today. The Ewoks, it turned out to be a comedy for kids. So I'm not dreaming to do a Star Wars. Katie.
You know what George Lucas would have to say for that? I made Star Wars for kids.
I need to find the actual interview with Freddie Prinze Jr. and splice it just so that way we can play the clip every single time we bring this up. Guys, and I do it all the time. I have a picture of Freddie Prinze Jr. from the interview saved on my phone so I could just post it whenever these conversations come up. Because the trilogy was made for kids. The prequel was made for a different set of kids. And the sequel series trilogy was made for kids. Star Wars is made for kids. But when you read this quote without any context to it, you immediately stop when he says, the problem is that it all derailed. Before you even read the next two lines or two words, you're like, okay, he's gonna have a
Phantom Menace.
he's gonna have a hot take on either the Phantom Menace or the Last Jedi. Like what? He's gonna be one of these people that for some reason doesn't like Rogue One. Like what is it all about? Is it another dig at Solo? No. 1983's The Return of the Jedi. Guys, when you look at people's top 5 Star Wars films, Return of the Jedi is always
in those top 5.
The top 5, and it literally jumps around on everybody's list. It could be number 1, it could be number 2, it could be number 3, it could be number 4, and it could be number 5. That's how widely loved the original trilogy is, because all 3 of them can like interchange in people's top 10s, top 5s. But Return of the Jedi, out of all the movies that you could have chosen.
And the Ewoks are so cute.
Not only that, but when you put the context of some of the later things, I say just, but it was technically last year, when we talked about or was it the beginning of this year? Oh my gosh. From a certain point of view, Return of the Jedi. We get more context with the Ewoks, which gives them more depth than just being the silly little teddy bears that are throwing rocks at people. Like, you can't say these things about Star Wars, especially we're going to talk about Skeleton Crew today. And like, you see the things that are happening in there, and it's just like, I by the way, I have some opinions about these two episodes that kind of contradict what people had said before the first two episodes even aired. They are positive, but I have some things to say. Uh, but yeah, like I'm gonna tell this to everyone right now, and you could call me a hipster, you can call me a hater. I don't care what you have to say. Dune in the 80s or the Dune from the 80s or whatever bored me so much when I saw all the sand in the trailer for this series. I said, no, no. And I have yet to watch either Dune movie because Katie might disagree with me on this one. I can almost guarantee with my taste in films, I am so glad that I put the money and effort into watching the Elvis movie rather than watching Dune. Like that's what I have to say about it. And again, I haven't even watched Arrival. There's a lot of movies I don't think that I have seen that are from this director.
Mm-hmm.
So
Arrival is good.
say what you will, but like and also I'm gonna say this also because it's a little contradicting to what I'm gonna say after this, but like anybody and everybody can have an opinion on their film tastes. That's
Yep.
100% okay. But like the balls that he and people like freaking oh shoot Dark Knight trilogy,
Christopher
Interstellar, Nolan. Yeah. Like the balls that these guys have to take direct hits towards specific franchises and IPs and like
Which one did Nolan do? Did he do Star Wars too?
Nolan has taken a crack at like Star Wars, at MCU, like at Superman, like all of these different things. And it's very silly. It's these people have like, oh, I'm gonna raise my nose at you type of energy. And I'm just like, you made a movie about worms, dude. Like, chill out. You're like, that's all I see whenever I think of Dune.
Well, and Star Wars does have Dune influences, so it's like I don't know if I'd want to see a Denis Star Wars movie because I think we know what we would get because we've seen Dune.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Just a whole bunch of Snarlack pits just everywhere. And that sounds kind of boring. So I'm going to say no. Either way. And for me, I will say this. He should go the route, if he was ever offered and actually considered it. If he doesn't like the whole kid-friendly thing, look at Rogue One. Look at Andor.
Yeah.
You could still do the adult themes, the serious stories with a little bit of fun, you know? The droids, the adult humor, whatever it may be. So I wouldn't say, like, for those directors out there who happen to be listening to these episodes of Star Wars Alliance, never say never. Just say, I'll think about it. Be nice about it. I think that's the bottom line for me, is just like don't be a dick. Like I think is like a rare thing for people to do nowadays towards Star Wars.
Yeah.
For and sure. That just sucks. But
don't understand.
Katie, do you have any more thoughts on this in particular?
Not really. It's like I had honestly forgotten about it. Like like you said. So it was like, okay, this is stupid. Like, why are you taking a shot at Star Wars? Like, that's about it.
Yeah.
Also, because I've been anxious, I am crocheting. Y'all, just I am paying attention, but it's helping settle my nerves. So I promise I'm paying attention. But I just wanted to be like, if you see me looking down, it is for a reason. I am still paying attention. So
I'm just waiting until the day that Katie comes on with those weird looking glasses that lets you look forward and down at the same time. She's gonna look like some
I
sort of alien from Star Wars. They're
I
gonna
have
look like
thought about getting
goggles.
those for car rides specifically.
That
Haven't
sounds
gotten them yet.
super dangerous. What the heck? Why would you use
Well,
it for car rides?
no, like as because they're supposed to help with car sickness.
Do they
So
really?
yeah, um, it's I don't know. I haven't tried it obviously, but I get super bad car sick. Um,
Huh.
so I like pretty much when Matt is driving, I typically always take a nap. Um, but I'm like, I would really like to be able to crochet in the car,
Right.
especially because I have to ride the back seat with Mara.
Yeah.
So, because if we're taking a big family ride, then that means the dogs are with us, and the dogs can't be in the back seat with the baby. So, yeah. Anyways,
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I would say look into it. If that's the case, definitely look into it. But let's go ahead and start our conversation about the Skeleton Crew.
yes.
First two episodes, and I will say this. Do you want to go ahead and talk about the whole thing? Because I was actually talking to somebody at work today, and they're like, wasn't the first two episodes supposed to air at on Monday? I was like, they did. They're like, it felt like one episode. I was like, well, what did you see? And maybe I can tell you if you watch both episodes. And they started to talk about how the kids were running away from all these pirates and talking about their home planet. I was like, that was the second episode. They're like, holy crap, that seemed very short. I was like, yes, it did. I hated it. I hated it. I hated it. The fact that they dropped the ball, like, again, this is something that we see in the trailers. The very last moment of episode 2, we've
Go
seen
for
in the
it.
trailers, so it's not really a spoiler. But like, for the fact that they they drop the quote that is the title of the freaking episode, can you keep a secret? And then boom, credits. I was like, you jerks. I was so pumped and ready for more. And then the episode just ends.
Yeah. I have questions. And okay, so we're going to tie in the beginning of episode 1 and the end of episode 2 because this is like the biggest things that are related. And then we could talk about the kids in the middle, even though the kids are the star. 100%.
Yes.
So at the beginning, we see a pirate raid on a ship. And the ship says, like, we are a part of the New Republic. I declare New Republic law. You have to get off or be in violation. And the pirate's like, hell no, bitch. Like, I'm a pirate. Like, I don't care about the law, which, as all criminals do, in fact. So they find 1 credit in the bin, and apparently the pickings have been slim for this pirate gang. So there is a mutiny. And what is the captain's name? Sutto? I think it's Sutto. Where's my casting list? It's not on the cast list.
Yeah, I don't think it is.
So the captain, who is wearing a mask, we don't see face, is mutinied upon. And then by Brutus. Brutus is like this big werewolf looking dude. Very cool. I love the costuming in this.
I liked his design. I didn't like the way he was moving when you first see him on the ship, because it looks like, I think it's the suit.
He's carrying too much weight.
I think it's the problem with the suit, but like, just like how a football player with the shoulder pads, if they were to raise their hands up, the entire shoulder pad and what is that whole thing called? I'm sorry, brain fart here. Like the whole pads, like they all go up with them, right? And the same thing is happening to this wolf person, and I think it's the suit in all, not just the clothing, but the practical wolf suit that he's wearing.
Yeah.
And like, everything goes up to his like neck and chin, and it just makes him look very awkward when he's shooting. And I'm like, oh, that looks kind of weird, but I still like the design.
Yeah. I can definitely see that. Like, he just doesn't know how to move in it. And everything, and it just might honestly be too much weight. But so Brutus takes over, and so then we don't see the pirates again until episode 2. But like episode 2, the main part that I want to talk about is at the end, because Jude Law shows up and he's in chains and everything. And he pulls the key to the cell that he and the kids are in, and pulls it in and like shows off that he's a Force user. I have questions though, because
if he was able
to pull the key, why didn't he pull the key immediately when he was shoved in? So I think that this is a ploy, that he was in an individual cell, and the pirates came to him and were like, dude, we're throwing these kids in this cell. We will let you go free with them, but you have to find the planet so we can find the treasure.
Ooh, I like that.
Totally. Because
I like that.
Especially if they knew he was a Force user, they wouldn't leave the key around. And they wouldn't, like, he would have pulled the key immediately.
But see, here's the thing. Do you think they would know that he's a Force user?
That's the thing, though. If they didn't know he was a Force user, then he would have gone ahead and pulled the key, and then he would have just escaped off of Bordeaux.
Yeah. Because I thought about that too. Like, why is he escaping now? Right?
Yeah.
And of course, it could all just be as simple as like, oh, this is how the story's written, right? Blah, blah, blah. But you have to, like, for those of us who are invested into the show already, we're going to have questions. We're going to be like, why didn't you do this before? Like, the setting is that you are clearly in this cell prior to these kids. Why didn't you get out before this? So I totally get it. I totally get it.
What was your theory? Because you said you had questions too.
Well, everybody said they said the pitch to this show was Stranger Things meets Star Wars. That was the pitch. And I think that was the wrong pitch. That's the wrong elevator pitch. This is Goonies meets Star Wars. But that's the vibe that I get.
But more people, and I get it, because not that I've seen either, but I get it. But more people are going to know what Stranger Things is nowadays than Goonies.
Yes, but here's one thing that I have a little bit of confrontation with. Okay. I've seen a lot of people say, like, oh, this just brings back the vibe of the original trilogy. No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
I love Star Wars.
Other than the opening scene, which has been done 9 times.
Oh, the opening of the pirates and
I
everything
was
else. Yeah,
like,
like
big New Hope vibes. Like,
exactly. Yeah, for sure. But I think people get very confused when they're like, "Oh, puppets, practical suits. We're back in the original trilogy days, baby."
yeah.
Like, no, that's just a design thing. And that's totally fine that you guys have that vibe and it makes you reminiscent of that stuff. That's totally okay. But when you put this show side by side to A New Hope, two completely different visuals, and the idea
Yeah.
that like we had heard that John went as far out as to like film this with a different camera and like do different types of things. Like it looked like a brand new show. Like it did
It
not.
does, but you can still tell it was shot on the volume, especially with the Borgo
Yes.
in second episode.
Yes. So like I have people I that didn't even make sense. I have a problem with people that try to overly hype a show to get people to watch it when you don't need to. And again, with my thoughts of, oh, this is giving me Goonies vibes, if you are wanting to reach out to the classic audience of Star Wars, you don't say, hey, this is just like the number one hit Netflix show, Stranger Things. That's not going to get the classic viewers. This is going to get the newer viewers, which I'm totally fine with as well. If there is
Mhm.
still a horror vibe to it, cool. If there is something there, a suspenseful vibe, whatever, which I do think there was a little bit of that in these two episodes. Um, if you are going so far out as to be like, oh, you're doing practical suits, doing all of these things that are reminiscent of the original trilogy, then add some things as far as how you are pitching it to grab that old audience back. And I think if they would have referenced Goonies more often and had these conversations, I think that would help the conversation of this week's premiere a little better because we had the conversation in the GUA chat and everybody was like, "Oh, that's later on my list. That's later on my list. Oh, I couldn't get to it today. Start it tomorrow, blah blah." Guys, I wanted to watch it. I made an investment with Abby that now that we have Hulu again, we put the priority on Only Murders in the Building. So, we have been watching that every single night. And then I was like, "Okay, when everybody goes to bed, I will watch Skeleton Crew." And so I started Skeleton Crew at 11:30 at night. Horrible decision on my end because I'm a parent now. I can't
Yeah.
do that anymore. Um, and I fell asleep like 15 minutes in. So I was like, "Oh crap, I'll finish this tomorrow." Turn it off and I watched it on Tuesday. That does not at any point in time say that I was not interested in the show and thus I am pushing it back because of that. Travis, on the other hand, felt the need to say, oh, well, if we, people who are podcasting about this stuff and kind of surrounds our lives around these pop culture things, if we're pushing it off to the side, I wonder what the general audience is doing with this show. And Katie, what do you feel about those comments that Travis made now that we're in a public scene of our podcast? Like, do you think that this show is going to be like is are the first two episode viewing numbers, do you think they're going to be high? Do you think they're going to be low? How do you feel?
I hate estimating viewing numbers. It's the worst part of podcasting. um, no, I don't think I don't think they'll be as high as Acolyte. I don't think they're going to be super low. I picture like maybe on par with like Miss Marvel. Is kind of what I'm thinking. This has more of a name behind it with John Watts as like the showrunner and stuff. So it might get more attention than Miss Marvel, but I really think the premiere was poorly done because they moved it to a Monday suddenly. If they had said, "Oh, this is going to premiere on Monday," like months in advance, I think it would have done a little bit better. But I don't like it when shows go, "Oh yeah, you're going to premiere on this date," but then we move it last minute. Like Obi-Wan Kenobi was one thing because, okay, you're at Star Wars Celebration, you move it up. Like a lot of people are talking about Star Wars because Star Wars Celebration is happening right now. So moving up the premiere makes sense because you have people talking about it. Skeleton Crew, what did you gain by moving the premiere up one day?
Yeah.
That I don't think you gained anything really. And then you screwed people up because one person in our chat was like, yeah, no, I really thought it was going to be a Tuesday. So I wasn't really expecting it until people started talking about it in the chat. So I think it can hit both ways. I will be interested to see next week's numbers compared to this week's because it's like regularly scheduled programming. So
yeah, regular. So that's okay. So it's not going to stay on Mondays, correct? It's going
to Tuesdays.
It's going to Tuesdays. I will say it's going to be very interesting. There is the first week of December is very popular, by the way. There is in the video game realm, there's a really hot game coming out this week. There's DC coming out this week with Creature Commandos and Star Wars. Like, there's a lot of things that are pulling the attention of everybody. So I'm not going to use that as an excuse of like, oh, Skeleton Crew did poorly because of the other things.
Yeah.
It's just the way the business goes. What I will say,
Summer was insanely popular at Disney, and Acolyte was still getting good numbers compared to House of the Dragon.
Yeah.
Okay, anyways.
Exactly.
Let's say that.
Well, but I believe that Skeleton Crew will have better numbers than Andor. I'm going to go ahead and say it. Which is not really saying much. But in the realm of the quote-unquote popularity, you know, Chris, although he is joking about it, it kind of makes a lot of sense. The fact that like, oh, I didn't even know this show was a thing, blah, 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 was the same kind of sentiment that Andor got. And it didn't get a whole lot of numbers.
Yeah.
But then it was like wildly acclaimed as like, oh, this is the best Disney Plus Star Wars show ever. So like,
yep.
Let's see how this goes. And as of right now, Rotten Tomato score, Skeleton Crew is just below Andor. Or is it the other way around? Is it just above?
I don't remember.
It's
remember right
either.
In the range of Andor. And it's
but they're neck
one
and neck,
of only two shows to be certified fresh for Star Wars. Which, again, I don't put a whole lot of stock into Rotten Tomatoes because I have opinions. But
it's what the general audience
really looks at.
Yeah.
Correct. That's still really impressive, and it's a general audience metric. So I would say this is super impressive. I've seen really good things on Twitter. I have not had a lot of time on social media, so I haven't really been able to like get the full effect to see what people are talking about and everything. But I would say it's off to a good start.
I think so as well. And I want to say, let's go ahead and talk about these kids and the
Well,
story.
let's talk production and
Okay, yeah.
music and do that first. That way we can kind of make sure we hit it, and then we can move on to the kids.
Yeah. So, well, how you want to start that?
So let's talk music first. I was really impressed. I think the music uh falls doesn't feel like traditional Star Wars, but it fits the vibe because the
I will agree.
planetary at Aten feels traditional Star Wars, but then we get to the pirate with Borgo and like even on the ship and everything, and we're like, ooh, yeah, like this is something new, this is something fresh. And really dig that.
I really dug um the set pieces here.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, as much as everybody wanted to complain about suburban Star Wars,
It
it
looks
works.
fucking awesome.
It works. I am sorry, and it feels weird to say it because I'll be honest, looking at everything that was in this show, this just looks like a futuristic version of like Earth. Like this,
Yep.
honestly, this show, Skeleton Crew, looked like every 80s and 90s show that was like, oh, this is what the future is going to look like. And it I just think it's so funny to think like that.
Yeah.
Katie, kind of going into the story a little bit with the suburban stuff, because we had some theories about the beginning of this and like this planet in particular. Uh we had an open crawl that says since the fall of the Empire, the New Republic has maintained.
You've kind of gone out.
Oh, did I? Or
Okay, that's better now.
okay. So there's like I say opening crawl, but it really wasn't an opening crawl.
Yeah, it really wasn't
Uh,
an open crawl. It
it
was
was
very much Ahsoka.
it was Ahsoka, but like it was like instead of a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, it was since the fall of the Empire, the New Republic has been taking care of,
Hmm.
intergalactic space, blah blah blah. And yet the remote hyperspace routes are incredibly plagued with piracy and all of these other things. Um, so the timeline, Katie, our Star Wars historian queen here, remind the listeners where this takes place.
So this is um Mandalorian time frame. So we do get New Republic references, like I said, with the beginning with the pirates. The guy cites New Republic law and everything. Um, so it's probably Mandalorian season 3 because we do see Vane, the Nick Joe pirate.
Yep.
Um, so probably a little post Mandalorian season 3, or it actually even could be before that because we don't know where Vane was at
Yeah.
previously. So it's good potential either way. Sorry, I'm trying to pick a stitch here. It's
No, it's
not
all good.
cooperating.
But I ask
Like,
I ask you to clarify timeline so people aren't confused by this
yeah.
question. We theorized, or you theorized specifically, and then I was like, ooh, that's a really cool theory. I want to jump on board with that. You theorized, hey, is there any possible way that a planet ruled under the Empire was,
With that, with the
secluded and treated as like a test planet of, hey, this is how we're going to make a perfect society, right?
Yeah, so like a Truman Show-esque kind
Yes.
of feel. So that brings me to the topic that I want to talk about, which was the tweet that I sent in. Because, and honestly, y'all, I didn't watch that many trailers with Skeleton Crew. Like, I watched the two main ones, but I didn't really watch any other footage or anything. And so I know this quote was in the trailer, but the teacher droid talks about being a part of the great work, with taking their assessment, which, by the way, taking a career assessment test, which is going to place you into your career field at 11 years old, really sucks. Whoever designed that in the Star Wars universe, you suck. Because that's stupid. uh, so the teacher droid talks about being part of the great work. And where do we know great works from? The High Republic. Lena
Oh,
So,
yeah.
the great works,
Hmm.
including one starlight beacon.
Yeah.
Dun dun dun. And Otten is known as, it was said um in some of the interviews, Otten was the crown jewel of the old Republic.
Was it really?
Yes, it
I did
was
not
said.
see any of these interviews.
Um,
That is like a little like tongue in cheek there for anybody who actually is paying attention to High Republic stuff.
yes. So in the official currency on the planet was credit ingots from the old Republic era. Um, the crown jewel of the old Republic, Skeleton Crew's creators. And there was no Legends reference to Otten, by the way. So this is just in the interview. Um, so Chris Ford, wait, where was the quote? Because there's a specific quote. Okay, this doesn't have it, but basically Chris Ford and John Watts, who are like the showrunners, um, Chris Ford said that's what's fun about it. The kids grow up there. It's peaceful, it's nice, and they don't like that because they're bored. But if you're in Tatooine or if you're in the middle of a battle, you would love to go to this planet. So it's about that difference in perspective. We know that's the theme of Star Wars. If you look at things from a certain point of view, what's the actual value there? John Watts said, there's definitely more to the planet than meets the eye, but we don't want to say too much. Oh, Joe Deckelmeyer, who I have no idea who that is. Oh, that's the Screen Rant interviewer guy. Sorry.
Okay.
But they have, with this new planet being referenced as having once been, quote, the crown jewel of the old Republic, end quote. So,
So
yeah.
I'm looking at this post that you shared in Star Wars chat. And you know me, I'm always like, okay, what are other people thinking about these things that we're talking about? I mean, there's some jerks here. Oh, just give us old Republic references and we'll all be happy. Don't need any of this High Republic stuff. I don't care about you. But then there's like I love people with like tinfoil hats because it's like, guys, I don't need to go that crazy, but I love the energy for it. What if everyone on the planet has high levels of midichlorians and they were specifically sheltered away during the time to save them? Guys, calm down. Calm down. It's a fun theory, but I again, fun theory. I think it would be very fun and cool, but it is like the worst decision you can make because it is an end all be all of like, this is how we get all of the Jedi in the future. It's just like, okay, like, don't love that.
Yeah.
Like instead of the idea of like people naturally like finding out their abilities and everything else, finding out that you were basically nurtured to be a Jedi, like a whole planet full of Jedi, like makes me, kind of iffy on it.
And
But
that is something that was done in Legends, though. Like, the oh gosh, Outbound Flight. They
okay,
sent Jedi with them and like family members and stuff, so that way they could build colonies and everything. And so it's like you're like setting things up for success, kind of.
yeah,
It would be interesting to me that they basically have replaced themselves with safety droids if that were the case. Now, granted, we've talked about this kind of with Marvel and DC, like in group chats, not necessarily on a podcast, but like, what if the whole planet was super? Like, what then? So maybe that's why you replace them with safety droids. But yeah, I don't see that being a distinct possibility. I really think it's like I like the High Republic theory. Like Lena So set up a specific planet to see in the Outer Rim with like all these things. Like,
so what if, again, tinfoil hat, people who are not reading these books might feel a little lost on this, but I just want to see Katie's reaction right now. The barrier, aka the storm wall technology.
how would the ship have gotten out of the barrier?
It has a path engine.
Ooh.
Because one of the bigger points of one thing that really weirded me out throughout this entire first episode, second episode not so much, because we saw a lot of ships. We didn't see any ships in the sky.
Correct. It was just repulsor
If
engines.
you look at any and all planets from any and all other Star Wars, Coruscant, domesticated, full city, flying cars everywhere. Did we see a single flying car? No.
Yeah, everything stays pretty close to the roads.
Exactly.
So they don't have the capability to climb.
So I think these like stories of Jedi and starships and everything else is literally just myths on AT-AT. They're fantasy. They are pieces of fiction, which is why we see Wim. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Which is why we see Wim obsessing over them.
Yeah.
It's all fiction in their eyes. The father freaked out over a starship. The droids said, that's impossible. Starships are not prohibited in this space.
Are prohibited, not
Yeah,
not prohibited.
Yeah. Are prohibited in this space. So it's like, I don't think anybody has actually seen an airship on that planet.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. And it's like, did you see Fallout?
Yes, I did.
So it's like that, where they're like, oh, nobody goes to the surface. Nobody goes to the surface.
Yeah.
Like, they all have absolutely no idea what's going on whatsoever.
So I think that it is a very large possibility that I see this person talking about storm seeds, storm wall, path engine. Like, if this is like talking about Lena So's great works, like if AT-AT was legitimately a safe haven of some sort that they wanted to completely shut off from the known galaxy. We've seen it happen before.
Mm-hmm.
Obi-Wan Kenobi couldn't find a planet.
Mm-hmm.
Where did it go? Oh, it was erased from the archives.
Yeah.
Boom. It's happened before. Like, they could easily do it again.
Yeah. 100%. And like it could have been erased from the archives a millennia ago. Like
Yeah.
if it wasn't done during the High Republic, but like they have Old Republic credits, which are the long rectangular ones. So we know like
And I love that they
not too far
had the
off.
they took the time to show the difference, because in the
Yep.
very opening scene,
We see one
one
singular New
measly
Republic credit.
credit, it is a Republic credit, and then you see Wim with his credits. They're all nice and shiny.
Mm-hmm.
They don't look old at all, which is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it'll be, I'm really interested to see what happens because on Borgo, everyone's like, oh, the city of lost treasure or the planet of lost treasure. Like,
I saw somebody post that. They're like, the quote of the character saying, "Oh, the planet of lost treasure," and it said "the treasure," semicolon, and it was a picture of Neil. He's so good. I love him as a character.
he's so good. And the kid, because the kid is doing the CGI work.
Oh,
Like,
is he really?
yeah, because they showed up as a behind the scenes featurette, and he's like doing all of like, because I was wondering because they had like in certain scenes you can see the mouth move underneath the trunk, and that's just so
Mm-hmm.
impressive. Like, I really thought it was costuming, but no, he's doing like full on CGI work.
Yeah. He is
Oh,
played by Robert Timothy Smith. And he is from, if anybody is interested in knowing, he has done stuff, had not been in a whole lot at all. Mythic Quest back in 2021, Tosh Point O in was his first appearance on
Tosh
TV.
Point Oh.
Yeah, it was his very first TV appearance in 2017. He's been on Good Girls, Wolves, and Dear Santa, which is the new Jack Black movie, I believe, that is coming out, I think, this year.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So speaking of the Planet of the Lost Treasure, so oh gosh, Adrian actually posted who this was. Um, oh, I'm gonna have to go look up what he said. Um, the actress here, the dancer,
Yes.
basically. Which we see another Thurfin. I think it's a Thurfin with the spikes. So like another callback um to Legends right there.
Mm-hmm.
Um I loved her. I thought she was really caring. And that's just another kind of tie in to this like, hey, Star Wars is for kids. Like our whole goal is take care of kids no matter who we are, like to the best of our abilities.
Mm-hmm.
So um that really meant a lot to me, like in Star Wars, to see that happen, especially when they're on a comet full of pirates. So
Yeah, I'm looking at his post now. Did you notice what was on Neil's siblings' Hollow vid?
I was trying to pay attention to that, but didn't really like.
You've never seen it before, because You've literally never seen it before. We were going to do it several times.
Oh, is it
On
the holiday special?
They have made the holiday special canon within the actual canon of Star Wars, people.
Is that
Neil's
what it
siblings,
was?
yes, Neil's siblings were watching the Star Wars holiday special on their holovid. And people are like freaking out. One person is even like saying like, "Oh my god, there's drag queens in Star Wars. Like, how could you?" I'm like, dude, were you not even watching the whole freaking episode or two on this show? We're dealing with pirates killing people, shooting people in like the eye, and like you're worried about drag queens? Like,
Yeah.
come on now. But like literally, there's like drug use here and like a whole bunch of stuff, and even Adrian points that out in this response. But I do love the irony of how we were all like, protect these kids. And then, like, literally in the second episode, like, she immediately runs to them. Are you guys kids? Like, also, that is very interesting as well. Like,
Yeah.
the life of a pirate never seeing kids. Okay, I can kind of understand that. But at the same time, to be surprised to see kids.
But you also have other aliens in things. So, like,
True.
you have Yoda, who's the size of a kid, which,
Yeah, yeah,
by the
yeah.
way, I would have, and this may just be me, and I know they're trying to keep Yoda's species like a huge secret and like trying to build up to whatever this is with him and the Grogu and whatnot. But I would have actually loved to see a Yoda species in that classroom. I thought that would have been hysterical.
That would okay, so see, this is how you know that Katie just wants to watch the world burn, because you know she would just like she like would find it hilarious. She is I don't know if anybody has ever seen oh god, I am just blanking on movie titles here. Freaking you were the kid in the back of the classroom that throws a paper ball at the back of the teacher's head and then just like quietly sits back and watches the chaos that ensues. Like, that is who I think Katie is. Now, people are like, how do you know that? I don't know that because Katie was homeschooled. And I think that's probably for the best of us, because
I
she
did go
probably
to
would have
public
been.
high school.
Oh, you did go to public high school. That's right.
That was where I learned what crabs are. Not appropriate conversation for this podcast.
But I genuinely feel like you were that person at one point in your life, because if there was a Yoda species in that assessment classroom, everyone would have forgotten about At-Atten. Everybody would not have cared about Jude Law being a Jedi using the Force. Nobody would have loved my possibly newest favorite droid in all of Star Wars,
Smee?
freaking Smee, which I think is also hilarious. He is the second hand to a pirate, aka Captain Hook. Smee, I love this connection if that's legitimately what it is. But like, yeah, like you would not have heard anybody talking about any other part of this show. It would have just been about that one character that you saw either the corner of the ear and they're like, oh, I know that furry ear anywhere. That's Yoda. It's like, come on, guys, like chill out.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
It would have been horrible. I'm glad they didn't do it. Yikes, Katie.
You're not wrong.
When Alfred said some people just want to watch the world burn, he was talking about you.
No, but like, wouldn't you think that would be like a good, like, this whole planet has been hidden for years.
Now,
So like it makes sense
it,
for another one to be there.
yes. Now, I will say this. If there was a Yoda species there, that would confirm every single theory that we've had about this show. And I think that's also why they didn't put it in there. Because they're like, hey, we don't want to show all of our cards right now. We'll show some of them, but not all of them.
All right. So the kids. Fern kind of pisses me off. But she's like my personality.
You have to have that personality in the of course, like this is the coming of age story. Like this is the very classic coming of age story, adventure story. And when it comes to a group of kids, there is always, without a doubt, a bully.
Mm-hmm.
Every single time. And every single time, there will be a moment where that person is no longer a bully. Mm-hmm. And we're already seeing it. It happened very quickly, but I still think there's still conflict and kind of butting heads with Fern and Wim. There's going to be a moment where they put away their differences and fully be on board with like, hey, we're just trying to get home. We're going to save each other, all this type of stuff. Like, I genuinely believe that's going to happen.
Oh, I did forget one piece of production, by the way. There were 2 jump scares in the first episode. And I have serious problems with that. I almost woke Mara up because I screamed.
Okay, so the first one is when
they're looking at Smee.
Yes, when they're looking at Smee, and then
the 4-eyed rat comes out of his face.
The rat comes out of his eye, scares them, pulls the lever, and all of that. That's the first one. The second one is when Smee actually starts walking towards them.
Oh no. It was when Fern goes, "Where's KB?" And then KB just like pops up.
Oh, are you saying?
Yes! Yes! I didn't even freak out when Smee was coming. No, I freaked out when
that's hilarious. Oh man, there was I saw a post today, and I just had to be like, oh, that's not funny. They're like, somebody put like the spoiler filter on their picture on Twitter, and they're like, spoilers for the first episode of Skeleton Crew, or the second episode of Skeleton Crew. And so you it like they put the dashes so that way you can't read what their final thoughts are going to be, and then you unclick the filter and it says, look, a tech cameo, and it was the skeleton on the ship, and I was like, oh, that's not nice. That's not nice. That's too soon. But yeah, I love the kids. Fern, KB, Wim, and Neil. I think Neil is going to steal the show. I just think that is the way it's going to be. I love KB's use of tech with her visor.
Mm-hmm.
And how she like was able to manipulate her voice with it. That was really fun. Like,
yeah.
Like, comply or you will be vaporized. Who is your crush at school?
Yeah,
like that was hysterical. Hilarious.
And then Neil's just like, Runa!
I like Wim is the stereotypical daydream kid in this show, and I don't have a problem with him, but I am gonna need him to evolve as a character throughout this show.
Yeah,
because if he stays like this the way he is, and then they like kind of reward that later on, I'm not going to feel like it was really worth the adventure.
Yeah,
because he doesn't 100%. Learn anything. Because yeah, he gets the he gets the validation of like oh, a Jedi, you know, like and on all that. Like, yeah, cool. But I could definitely see there being a moment if our theories play out to be true. If this is, of course, not a Jedi and just somebody who is force sensitive and uh you know ends up turning on these kids at some point, like then Wim can just be like, oh, this was not what I thought it was going to be, and all of that, which I kind of also think that might legitimately happen anyway
Yeah.
in some capacity. uh but yeah, I just need, I like Wim as a character, but I need him to evolve and I'll like him more.
Yeah, for sure. Um, no, it is like because Fern pisses me off because it's like the whole like tell stories, like make stuff up, which I get it. She doesn't have like the parental presence in her life, but at least like Wim is like just stuck in his daydreams, whereas Ferna's like, oh yeah, I'm ready to grow up, but also not ready to grow up.
Well,
Like,
no, you see two different lifestyles here.
mm-hmm.
Um, and this is very much in the social classes of this planet. You see Wim and his father, um, which they are both people of color for one thing.
Yes,
You see that Wim's father is very nervous about, you know, things that he's having to do for work. He is
workaholic.
he's very workaholic-esque, yes. Whereas when you see Fern, Fern's mother is the person that comes in to talk to the class. You can see that their social classes between the two of them are very different. They don't have to worry about such. And so is kind of why you have the like bully, sarcastic, very stereotypical for that part of the social class to have the rebel, you know?
Yeah,
So it fits the bill, which I'm not like too angry about. But, you know, as I've been saying with this, the almost every single character here is kind of like, hey, we'll pull this character type from this show and this character type from this show and throw it into here. Like, there's nothing really new, which I think some people might see as like cookie cutter in a sense. But I hope that the storytelling and the visuals
keep
make up
people
for
roped
that.
in.
Yeah. In within the lifespan of this show.
No, for sure. I think it's very fun. I love KB. I love Neil. Um, and I just want Neil to be able to go home because clearly that's all he wants. And I'm very excited for like I was a little nervous because the rumor is that the Daniels episode is Neil focused. And I was like, I don't know how that's gonna go, like based off what we had seen in like trailers and interviews. But now that I've seen Neil, I'm 100% down for the Daniels doing Neil.
Mhm.
Like I think it's really going to be spectacular. Um very interested to see what they will come up with for him. Um and everything. I love that we're getting to see like normal daddy issues in Star Wars because so when this is something I stole from somebody else because like people were like, well, we get like a lot of daddy issues because Luke loses his hand to his daddy and everything. And so like it's like Wim is having normal daddy issues because his dad's a workaholic and doesn't want to read him a bedtime story. Like the dude is nervous before a test. Read him the freaking bedtime story. Makes me sad. Did you not get sad at that at all?
It's funny because I turned this on for the very first time when both Amberlyn and Abby were in the room. And when Wim's dad said, "Aren't you getting a little old for that?" and walked away, Abby just goes, "Oh, never."
Yes. That's literally I was like, I literally stared at the screen like this, and I was like, too old for a bedtime story. Like, my mom read me bedtime stories before one of my exams in high school. Like, because sometimes you just want to hear your parent read a story. Like, so yeah, that really pissed me off. Like, I know he's gonna be in the next couple episodes because we've seen him in the trailer, like talking to Fern's mom and everything. But like, I'm really not looking. Like, I hope he turns around too, as like a okay, hey, like maybe I should spend more time with my son. Um, because we do not see
I think
Wim's
that'll
mom.
be well, this is one thing that I have a problem with, and
Yeah.
it's not just with Star Wars, but it is happening in a lot of movies and TV shows. Whenever there is a family of color,
One of the
usually
parents always has to be
one of
missing.
the parents is missing, or it is never a full uh POC family. It is, there always has to be a white mother or a white father, and it's just like, what's so scary about a whole entire family being black? That's my issue that I have in a lot of these shows. And so I hope that there is a mention of the mother and that she is just like on a business trip somewhere and that we will see her soon. But there
No,
is
because it
no.
sounds like she's gone.
Is that what?
Because Wim says, "Will you read me a bedtime story like mom used to?"
Oh, I didn't catch that. Yeah.
And so it sounds like she passed away.
So disappointing.
Yeah. It really is because it would have been interesting to see that dynamic and see how she would feed the imagination. But I don't know. It is what it is.
Yeah, because again, I think like you start to just pile up all of these stereotypes. Like I think it's 2024, almost 2025 people. It would be nice to see a fully functioning family.
Mm.
I don't know. It's just something that I want, maybe. But yeah. Trying to think if there's anything else. Mentioned him only slightly. Smee. Smee as a
Yes.
droid is um very quirky, very awesome. Um and it's like the scene that they have with Smee to like really show on a kid's scale like how massive the universe is.
Mm-hmm.
Um when they're like, "Oh, just turn around and go back to where we were," and he turns the ship around. He's like, "Okay, guys, which one is it?" And then you just see
Mm-hmm.
all of these stars. Um, Absolutely terrifying. In
Yeah.
the grand
It
scheme
was
of things.
really good play with the cinematography
Hmm.
to do it that way because like you always like go like okay which one is it and you picture like the kind of sweeping arm like which one is it, so I liked the play to just not do that but then show all the stars around.
Yeah, very very fun. And the fact that he just immediately uh goes with the fact that Fern is his new captain. Okay,
Yes.
you killed my captain, then you are the new captain. And then when they're surrounded, do not lay a hand on my captain. And then he starts to freaking beat up everyone. That was fun.
Yes, that was
I
a
really
blast.
enjoy him.
Yeah, Nick Frost does an incredible job voicing him. I don't know if he's playing him. I think somebody else is playing him. But he really does a fantastic job with the voice and kind of catching. I will be interested to see if we find out how old the ship is. How old do you think the ship is?
That's well,
It's definitely a
uh,
pirate ship.
it's definitely a pirate ship. even Wim, like in his like euphoria of being off of Atten, I think they died in a duel. Like he was so happy
Yeah.
to see dead people. um I I'm going to suggest that it is quite possibly uh oh, well, this is what Adrian, we were literally talking about this earlier. Adrian is in the YouTube chat saying, "Do you think Atten has a pseudo occlusion zone via some early storm seed tech?" Sorry if you already talked about that. No, we're totally down with saying it again because again, I will even go as far as it is quite possible that since even Smee doesn't have any recollection on
Mm.
his last location, this ship might be even as old as the High Republic.
I could concur, and actually, I would say the early Storm Sea tech, good probability. I'm kind of, as I think about it more, I'm almost like, was this the families of the Nihil kind of being punished and like secluded and like treated like their own, like how they
Ooh.
treated other planets? But I'm gonna make a Young Jedi Adventures pull. What if Smee is the pirate droid in Young Jedi Adventures?
I love Young Jedi Adventures. Like we've talked about it on this show, guys. We love that show. I like it's a show that me and Amberlyn can just sit down and watch also. Um I don't know. I don't know. Um I think it would be a
Because he
very
could have been reprogrammed into being like the kid's assistant.
I think it would be
Like,
very fun pool. Um, he says the money, the way the lady talks about the Republic, the aesthetic that matches up with the Halcyon, all of
oh
that
yeah,
stuff.
that's a good point. The aesthetic,
I
very much.
I truly think that this was basically ripped out of time in a sense with the Storm Seed technology. And just like making a pool from freaking Attack of the Clones, like we had said earlier, I think that either if this was something that Lena So had a hand in doing, or even the Jedi Council along with her, I think that the planet itself was erased from the archives and erased from history.
What if? What if when they get back? This is like when they get back to A'an, I think. What if the supervisor, because Fern's mom is the undersecretary or under supervisor or whatever. What if the supervisor is an Everini? Supervisor Rowe, for instance.
Katie, we literally had this conversation last week. What did I say about the idea of the Jedi Council letting go of Roe? What did I say? And
But they
now you
didn't
want to
let
throw it
go
in
of
here?
him. They didn't let go of him. They banished him to Aten with his crew to grow on their own and
You
learn
think
their lesson.
okay, no. If you think that Marchion Rowe and all of the Nihil were banished to one planet, and then in the course of 150 to 200 years, they were like, hey, we're gonna be the perfect society of all of the galaxy. No, I call bullshit. No. Now, she sold me, took the occlusion tech, started to the
Exactly.
freedom he
It's
always
not
wanted.
It's
I
not
am going to hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I need Markion Rowe to get
to
his
die.
comeuppance. I need him to either be buried under the Jedi temple on Coruscant or die. Now, I will say, what if the person in charge of At-Aten is oh shoot. I'm trying to think of the two families. Uh
You're just blanking on
I
everything
am
today.
blanking all day today. Uh, uh um
Give me a book. Give me a movie. Give me
Axel.
an episode.
Uh, uh, uh
Greylark.
Greylark. What if it's a Greylark? What if the head of At-Aten is either a Greylark or a Santeca?
I don't know about a Santeca because Santecas are in the sequel trilogy, and the Santecas are known for passing down knowledge of old things.
But
So,
if Santecas, we know their family is large. Their
correct.
family is very large. And we've seen in the High Republic that they have been willing to completely sever themselves from other family members before.
Yeah. In the benefits of science.
Yes. I think that it's a possibility.
Yeah.
If all of these theories come to a head, I think that it makes sense that a Santeca could
And
be.
what if, because now they're making the connection to Aten, and like the Mandalorian is going to get drawn in and everything. What if that's how Luke meets a Santeca and start their Jedi search knowledge, because that Santeca has the knowledge that's on at. And so they're able to take those legends and go searching for Jedi stuff. I'm not saying Skywalker's in this, but I'm saying that's like the
Adrian,
connection
thank you
because of the whole
so much
thing.
for speaking my mind for me.
No,
But I
I'm
think
like,
not in the show, but she's saying like, that was, I
because we've
guess,
already seen.
technical news that we didn't talk about earlier today. But Mandalorian Grogu has apparently wrapped filming.
Yes.
So, in the sense of Filoni's other movies, that
Yes.
is
So
going
like,
to further Luke Skywalker's story, At-Aten could play a part in those projects.
yeah. So like, because, well, technically you already have a connection to Mando because of Vane.
Yes, yeah, we do have the pirates
But
technically
I'm
already.
saying, like, so we know this is connecting in the Mandoverse. So if a Santeca comes out of this and goes back to civilization to see his family, now he's able to go to Luke Skywalker with these Jedi legends that Aten has held from the storybook, which is Adrian's next question. How do y'all think Wim has an old Jedi storybook given the barrier? I think given the technology, it makes sense if it came in and is like a heritage piece, because it's like it is like a data pad, but it's got simple buttons and
See,
everything.
and that was the thing that I didn't really pay attention to, in the sense of like the actual stories that he was reading. Do those look at all reminiscent of anything that has taken place after the High Republic? Or is it
Yeah.
just general like Jedi stuff?
Let me pull up the Star Wars Explained thread. Cave of Shadow. There's the Sith. packed his bag with everything he might need and set off on an adventure. The Hidaka Forest, I don't know where that is. The paddock of a herder. No. Temple. Entire fortress could lower into the ground. No, there's nothing specific as to where those stories would come from.
Exactly. So, Adrian, I would say that if this storybook that has this like general knowledge of Jedi stuff, it could still all be related like prequel series. It could all be High Republic related Star Wars stories.
Because I think the insinuation in Rebels is that there's multiple sinking Jedi temples. So it's not just Rebels, I think. Yes, I have to agree. It has to be old as fuck.
Yeah.
The technology just doesn't look even like prequel trilogy stuff. So.
Okay, yeah, I'm seeing the Star Wars Explained now. All of the.
Yeah, I put the spoilers on there because I knew you had.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to really sit down and read all of these in depth to just kind of see from it.
I'm so impressed with Alex that he fucking translated all that stuff. I know that you can and everything. I'm still so fucking impressed.
It's just well, and then Taylor from our Star Wars Alliance chat, and of course here on Geekverse was like, why aren't these people like translating like old knowledge from our world and like bringing back history from stuff that has been lost for centuries?
Look, Taylor, we don't judge.
But I love all of the tinfoil hat stuff.
Adrian said I was going to translate it, but I knew he would beat me to it since he saw it early on.
I love all of the tinfoil hat stuff. I really do hope at least one of us gets something right with this. I don't think that this is all just coincidental stuff. Like the barrier sounds way too familiar to the storm wall and everything else. And like
especially going back to Legends with the siege of not the siege of Corellia, the civil war with Corellia, because Corellia did something very similar to the storm wall, but the barrier seems more like what Corellia was doing.
Yeah,
because it was more system and everything. I'm so impressed, Adrian. Adrian's talking about how he's going to translate some other Arborish from the town, and then how he has so much Outlaws translated. I still need to get back into playing Outlaws, or I need to make Matt play it. But there's also I don't have time for that shit. So.
But yeah, like I genuinely like all of these people that are doing the tinfoil hat stuff even brought the idea that, hey, like this could be a Lena So thing, like all of this stuff. Like if I were to even hear the mention of a Santeca within AT-ATN, I would freak out. Like it's just the slightest thing, or a Greylark, like I said. But
I'm thinking Santeca is more likely just because of the Santeca and the sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
I really think we got to see the supervisor because of the Starship being there. Like, I don't think Fern's mom has the authority to like handle a search at that point, because we know the parents are going to figure it out and get to searching. So
yeah.
I'll be interested to see. Adrian says, y'all know I don't do a whole lot of speculation.
Stares at Ahsoka speculation. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, so also, Adrian, I know that you are just blowing up the YouTube chat right now, but brother, you are always welcome to jump on and talk with us. So if you want to jump on for Skeleton Crew episodes, 3 through 8, just let us know. We will totally be down with
Absolutely.
having you join us.
Um, I have one more question for Adrian if he's still listening.
All right.
Yeah. All right,
Yeah, he's
Adrian.
down for next week. Cool.
So, do you think that Jude Law's character is a plant? Because why would he take the key?
Yeah. So you bring that up. I think that it is very plausible. Um because one thing for sure is we're assuming that Jude Law is the captain that was captured for mutiny in the very beginning of this show, correct?
Yes, that is the
Exactly.
assumption.
That is the assumption. So I'm going to assume that he is wanting to
Get
be
back
in
in
good
charge.
graces with his old crew, and he wants them back under him. So I think that he is going to possibly turn. Even if he turns, we get the validation. But I know because it is aimed towards kids and all of these other things that there will be a time where he's like, yeah, but I do want to help these kids out, and then he's going to help the kids.
Yeah, because
Adrian does say here real quick that I think that he is a Jedi who saw kids in need, same way the Lady of the Night did. At least that's what I hope.
because my thing is that he's probably going to still help them, and he's probably not like he's going to help them protect their planet from the pirates at the end of this. Um, fuck the aim towards kids. Hello, there's a little brothel in Star Wars. He's not wrong. So I think he's ultimately going to help them protect their planet because he's going to fall in love with them and want to protect the kids and everything. But I
Yeah.
think at this point, he's a plant by the pirates as like a hey, we're gonna like I said at the beginning, we're gonna throw these kids in the cell with you. They say they're from this lost planet of treasure. Like, help us find it. You're back in. So that's my thing.
Yeah,
Um,
I am willing to go along with that because that does sound sensible to the idea that if he was a force sensitive individual, why didn't he grab the key before the kids were even in there? Um so yeah, and if he is a fallen Jedi, he will find himself with the, you know, I think there will be a moment where Wim is like, "Hey, why are you so down in the dumps? Like, Jedi are all these great individuals," and hype them up, and that's when he'll be like, "You're right, kid. I am awesome," and then he'll do some really cool Force stuff.
yep. Sorry, my entire screen just went black and I was trying to figure out what was going on. Um, if anybody was like, what the fuck is she doing with her face? Like, um, Adrian says, I agree, Katie. Fallen Jedi who will find himself through the kids, because why didn't he cut himself off from the Force after all this time? Yep, 100%. I was also going to look. Let me see if this will. Nope. Okay, it's totally Disney Plus's fault that my screen is going black. Because I'm trying to play the episode so I can see the credits. And it is like, no, you can't do that. Oh,
You're not trying to stream it onto StreamYard, are you?
no, I was not.
Okay, because it also but your camera is also going out. So if you completely freeze and die here, then
I did a dumb, so I think I'm gonna have to exit and come back. Oh,
well, while you are doing that, I will get closer to the credits so that way when you come back, you can definitely
oh, what
uh-oh.
is this? What is this doing? Are we gonna have to shut down the whole PC?
I hope not. Do you want me to I can kick you out and
Yeah,
then
kick me out.
all right, now she's gone. It's my show now. No, but uh I genuinely love this show. It was a very nice surprise. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. Um, Adrian asks, "Do you think he will take any of them as a Padawan, specifically Wim?" Um, so Adrian, that's a very interesting question because there was a theory out there, and I told uh, Katie that some of these people need to calm the hell down when it comes to these theories. Uh, that Atten is actually a safe haven for high count midichlorian individuals. And so specifically, Wim might actually have the capabilities of becoming a future Jedi, just like he wishes. And I'm like, guys, calm down. Like having a full planet full of Jedi, potential Jedi. I don't know if I necessarily love that idea, but it would technically secure a like future for the Jedi that we would be getting within the Rey Skywalker stuff. So that is why I kind of agree and disagree with the idea of the entire planet being full of uh, midichlorian high counted individuals.
Hi, I'm back.
Katie is back. I am at the credits. Adrian is also saying, I can see the vision, especially with the nameless, uh, protecting them during the High Republic. Oh, so that's
That's a
interesting.
good theory.
Like saying,
Trying to
hey,
protect it from the blight and like maybe using the Stormwall technology that way.
oh, yeah, like, hey, like, because, spoilers for the newest book that came out, it is way past, and we can now talk about it, of course. Um, uh, and then
Tempest
also,
Breaker?
well, actually, hold on. It's the fourth. It just came out.
Yes. Tempest
Tem-
Breaker.
Tempest Breaker just came out. So, little spoilers for that. The Blight cure esque is not necessarily a Blight cure, and there's still kind of this scare on if they will ever come to a.
Oh,
Uh,
sorry, Adrian.
oh well, I apologize, Adrian. I will give no other context to that. Um, but there is a play
Go
on.
listen to our review from last week.
Yes, there is a lot of play with the idea of this hopeless blight. So uh
Yeah.
yeah, so just with the idea of protecting the blight, you should be good to go, Adrian. Just with the idea of protecting the future Jedi from the High Republic and saying, hey, things are kind of getting crazy. We don't know if there's an end to this. Let's throw them on this planet. That I do like. That I have a really fun like idea of like, okay, we're gonna do all this, but then Jedi become domesticated
Mm-hmm.
and you get Atten. I think that's a really fun play on how society evolves when
And
you
the
don't need
treasure
Jedi.
is the Jedi.
Yeah, I could actually see that happening. Like the treasure is the fact that like these lost beings are here all along.
Mm-hmm. Totally see that.
Gives Rey a new Jedi Order, correct? And who is loyal to the Republic eventually. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think that is. I think that is also something that could be very plausible. So love all of the tinfoil hat stuff. But so, Katie, you said you were looking at the credit. What
I was
exactly?
trying to look at the credits to see who voiced the captain.
Ooh, so I guess it would be.
Because I thought it was Jude Law, but if somebody else voiced him, then maybe it wasn't the captain.
Let's see if they like by order of appearance or whatever type of thing. Uh, Merchant Captain.
Yeah.
Is
Oh no, not Merchant Captain.
Okay. Then it would be. Oh, that's weird. Kids, SME, unit director. Oh wow, no, it's not there.
So yeah, I would say he's probably voiced by Jude Law, and that's Jude Law's character as the captain.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, Adrian agrees.
Yeah. Trying to pull a fast one on us. Nope, I don't think so. It is definitely Jude Law in that very first opening scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Because if not, they gotta explain why he's there. Yeah, exactly. But I think that is it for our conversation of the first 2 episodes of Skeleton Crew. Before we do our regular rambling of all of our plugins, I want to go ahead and remind you guys this is a new show. We want to hear your reactions, your thoughts, your opinions. What is your tinfoil hats for this show? So please leave us a text or a voicemail at this number down below. I'm actually going to say it out loud for all of the podcast listeners, but the phone number is our Star Wars Alliance hotline, 830-538-4828. You can leave a text or a voicemail. Please leave some sort of username or name there. Don't give out any too important information because, why would you give that to a stranger? And let us know how you feel about the show, how you feel about our tinfoil hat theories, and all of that jazz. 830-538-4828. Or if you don't want to leave a voicemail or text message, you can always send us a Gmail or an email at starwarsalliance@gmail.com. And that is StarWarsalliance@gmail.com.
Yes. I almost corrected you on the wars part, but then I was like, wait, no, I don't.
Exactly. Exactly. We don't have an A in wars. That's the whole thing, Katie. Come on now.
No, don't forget it. No A in the wars.
Now, guys, thank you so much for being here with us. Adrian, thank you so much. We are so excited to talk to you next week about
we needed
episode
this
3
today too. Always glad to have people in the chat.
Yes, of course. As for me, you can always find me at Fanboy Clay on any and all social media. But to be honest, we're seeing some of our other folks over at the GUA kind of starting to make the same decision. Feeling a little less on the Twitter, jump into the blue sky. Posting a lot more on there. So if you want to follow me there, I'm doing a lot more of comic book stuff just because that is what my job entails. So if you would like to follow me for that, and I also, just talk all about nerdum stuff. So go follow me there, have fun conversations, and I'll be posting a lot of the Star Wars Alliance tweets on there as well. So go follow me there. Of course, I am also a part of Ranger Alliance at the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. Jake and I should be recording fairly soon, actually, to add to our new revamp that we are starting. I'll give a little hint there. I haven't said it yet, but now I did. A little revamp starting in January. Won't tell you what it is, but there is still comic content coming out in the month of July, so be on the lookout for that. But yeah, January is going to be a revamp for the Ranger Alliance podcast, and it's going to be very, very fun. Hope you guys all enjoy it. But Katie, what about you?
Y'all, you can find me on most social media platforms. It's at Slice of Katie. I don't do a lot of social media-ing So, yeah, but I will still, if you send me something, like Adrian just gave us a shout out on the Twitterverse. We greatly appreciate it, Adrian. We love being
Yes,
here.
of course.
So at Slice of Katie is where you can find me. Clay already did the Star Wars Alliance stuff, so I don't have to do that. But we did have one more person pop up in the chat, and we will close out with this. No matter what Lucasfilm puts out right now, people are still going to be negative. You can choose to be negative, but as long as you do it with positive attitude, there ain't no such thing as being negative. You can have critiques, just don't be an asshole. That's what we have to say.
Yeah.
And we aim to be a positive light here on the YouTube and the podcast feeds, no matter what other people in this world want to be. So, with that, y'all, I want to wish everyone a great day or night, whatever day or whatever time of day you are listening or watching. And we will see y'all next time. May the force be with you.